Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. It's time for our weekly recap of the Gibson demo shop. But what I'm questioning this week is the demo shop losing steam. Are people losing interest? I know personally for me, some of the magic is starting to wear off now that we've seen, all these multiple different variations. However, Tuesday this week offered a lot of unique ones that we can talk about. Now, as far as the regular guitars, I'll let you click that link in the description that'll take you to the demo shop so you can take a look at them for yourself. I want to mainly focus on the modified ones. First was this SG standard bass, fretless. Whoa! That's the first time I've noticed that. I always saw the frets. Did they modify that to be fretless? Oh man, I'm surprised this thing has not sold yet. I mean, this has sat here all week. I just don't think people are reading that title. I've looked at this thing like twice and I didn't even realize that until just this second. That makes this a completely unique bass. I just thought what made it interesting is they have a second mudbucker in here, except for it doesn't have a cover over top of it, and I thought that was the end of the story. But no, this EB3 is actually pretty darn cool being a fretless if you're in the market for a fretless. I guess the big question on this one, did it start fretless or did they just add that pickup? Because you gotta look, that is brand new almost. This neck was stamped in May of this year. And I'd imagine it takes a couple of weeks. I mean, here we are July 22nd, less than 2 months after the fact. Is Gibson experimenting with releasing a true fretless bass? Because that is something that is completely missing from their current lineup. However, to be fair, Gibson doesn't have much of a bass lineup anyways. They just added that non-reverse Thunderbird, the DC tribute bass, which was okay. The classic original Thunderbird here, and then, the EB styled ones, the SG standard bass they're calling them, simply because they have the fancy inlays here. So yeah, it looks like either they're experimenting with not doing frets, or they just decided to take the frets out of this one and then fill them in. But definitely they just added that middle pickup on this one. But these are normally $1,500, and this one has a $200 premium to it. Let's see what they say in our description. Modifications converted to fretless with a finished fingerboard. Nice. And they put a Seymour Duncan Ripper pickup in the middle. Okay. So they filled in the fret slots and then finished over top of it. That's almost tempting to get because, you don't see that too often. But fretless basses are a thing. Check out my Tony Franklin review when I tried to demo a fretless bass. Now, I'll truly lose my mind when Gibson makes one of their Les Pauls fretless, just for the sake of it in the demo shop. But this guy right here, I am so surprised it did not sell almost instantly. So they've got a ghost flame paint job going on here on a Memphis ES335. However, at the same time, it doesn't have regular 335 inlays. You normally find dot necks like this over here, or you find small blocks like this one here. Not custom block inlays like this one has. But when you get to the headstock, it's not like a 355 that gets the custom headstock. So this is just really strange. Did they have to replace the entire fretboard? Did they just enlarge the inlays? Did somebody make a mistake on this one? Was it meant to be a prototype of some sort? There are so many unanswered questions on this particular one. Maybe there was a small run of these things that I'm not aware of that came with the Ebony fretboard and the block inlays. What's our description say? Okay, it does say a modification is the block inlays. And despite looking dark, it says the fingerboard is rosewood. Okay, so does that mean they just took a router bit and they enlarged the inlay size like this started life as a small block one? Because it couldn't have started life as a dot neck, because that's the problem with trying to upgrade dot inlays with Gibsons. The dots will fall outside of the line right here. So you either have to choose to make that one bigger, which throws off the entire vibe of the entire fretboard, or you just deal with having some plugged wood in that area. So that was certainly interesting. The headstock just doesn't match though. Maybe that's why it hasn't sold. But it's also being offered at $3,999. I thought it was cool. I really did think it was going to sell, but it's proving to be priced a little bit too high for somebody to fall in love with, I guess. Now by our serial number, it is a 2017 So it's not really fair to compare it to one of these that's brand new $3,000, but it probably would have been a fairly similar price, but they're made in different factories nowadays. So they've got a $1,000 premium on this paint job. It kind of reminds me of like these Skull ES335s, and I've seen this done up before, but I'm wondering if the fact that this has not sold, nearly instantaneously will deter the demo shop guys from doing this on other guitars. I'm sure it will sell, but nowhere near as fast as I bet they were thinking. Speaking of another one that didn't sell none too fast, this one right here. So just like we've been seeing constantly through the past couple of weeks, this is another custom colored top to a Les Paul Custom. And this one, I didn't really like it because, champagne gray, not necessarily my color. And I don't like it when customs have zebra pickups like this because it looks too much like one of those traditional pro guitars, especially in this color. You see what I'm talking about? Just swap the plastics and you have just about the same thing. Now granted, this is a custom, it's gonna feel and play a little bit differently. You've got the ebony fretboard with the block inlays, but it just looked too much like a cheaper guitar for me to really fall in love with this one. Now there's things like the Rhino Les Paul Custom, it's also a gray color. It doesn't have the color changing abilities, but that's just a cool guitar in general. This one, I wasn't all that impressed by it. But give them credit, maybe it looks a lot better in person or would appeal to somebody that likes that kind of champagne sparkle. Because it looks like it's just going to turn gold at certain angles, like an aged silver. Okay, I can see some yellows and greens in there. And you get a lift-in case. I'm sure somebody will buy it, but once again, lasting more than 2.5 days in the demo shop, that's never happened before for an exclusive custom paint job. I think the most we've seen prior to this week was like a day. And now for Tuesday's sold listings. Yeah, there were some interesting ones. This thing, I never even got to see it. It was a great price for what it was, $13.99. That was a great deal if you like the whole racing stripe vibe, because not only did they do it on the front, but they also did it on the back. It might not be my favorite design in the world, but for a custom paint job, direct from Gibson, that was a steal, and no wonder it sold nearly instantaneously. But this one, oh my goodness, I was surprised. Absolutely shocked somebody bought this as fast as they did. I thought for sure this thing would be sitting in this shop for days and days, maybe even weeks, months, but it sold within about like an hour. And I think it's because whoever bought this didn't understand what it was. So this was listed as a Gibson Moderne Sinnaburst. Kind of makes me hungry for cinnamon rolls. And they decided it was a modified guitar. I'm sure a lot of people saw this and were like, what? Moderne? Is this like a custom shop type thing? No, this was originally a Gibson Zakk Wylde Moderne of Doom. So this thing originally looked like this. It kind of had a little bit of a striped paint job, but what makes this Moderne more unique than the other ones is the fact that it's actually a stepped up ladder right here. That's a pretty poor way to describe it, but it actually stands on top of the mahogany body right here. So the maple top is shorter than the rest of the guitar. It's strange, interesting, but that's how it is. So they just finished that in an ebony finish, and then the Sinnaburst type thing here. They left the Floyd alone and then maybe swapped out our pickups. But as far as the rest of the instrument, it seems like they just left it as it was. They just gave the neck a little bit of a burst. And the reason why I'm highly criticizing this one at $35.99, I mean, who am I to judge? They sold it so quick. But these things, brand new, were only $1,199, and they were blown out for as low as $899. Now granted, if you go onto Reverb right now, people ask $3,500, $5,000, $6,000 for these things, and it's ridiculous. But it was only about a year ago that they were selling for, $16,000 to $2,000. All it took was one guy to pay $3,000, and now nobody's going to accept less. So it's probably one of those models that I'll never review out of spite. I always wanted one for like $899. It never really made sense to me why they sold for so cheaply when most of the other Zakk Wylde exclusive guitars end up selling for so much. But I believe this was the last collaboration of Zakk Wylde, if I'm remembering correctly, with Gibson from the USA plant. But what makes this one interesting to me is the serial number, ER000. The only thing I could think of was like entertainment relations, because normally have ZW Mod for Zakk Wylde Moderne, and then what number it was produced. And you had Zakk on the back of the headstock. Whereas this one didn't have that. So I wonder if somebody did like a Hail Mary on this one, just hoping it was some sort of a prototype, which it's possible it is. And then at that point, yeah, it makes sense. But a refinished prototype, I doubt it started life like this. I guess I never did read the description. Modifications, okay, yeah, custom color, new pickup rings, very interestingly covered 57 Classic Pluses. And phase inversion on neck push-pull pot. Okay, so maybe there needs to be a little bit more digging into that one, whoever happened to purchase it. But I certainly didn't expect to see that guitar get listed that day. And then to end out Tuesday's offerings, there was this guy, kind of Alan Collins tribute with the short vibrola arm on here, and then randomly placed blue pickup rings. Not my favorite, but $13.99. It was an okay price. At least this one has a hard shell case, unlike that other one we were just talking about. And then we move on to Thursday's offerings. Wasn't much of anything good on Thursday. Usually it's the other way around. Tuesday's the boring day, and then Thursday they hit you with all this great stuff. I mean, you've got a couple of basic things, like the Studio HP actually looks pretty cool. I like the way the colors faded here and then darker there. But this one is causing some people to scratch their heads. So it was listed as a Gibson Les Paul Moderne in vintage Sunburst. So at first I thought, sweet, they're bringing more colors to the Les Paul Moderne. You know, this one. I've done a review and demo, you can check it out. I like the Moderns. I think the Epiphone version is a much better value when it comes to the specs that you're getting. But the colors, they're okay, but graphite top, sparkling burgundy top, faded pelham blue, they're all very modern finishes. What if somebody wants modern playability but with a more traditional finish? Because back when the old HP lineup was going on, they would give you all those fade finishes. They were never very traditional looking. So I bet the market is ready for something like this on a Modern. But that's not what this is, and it's strangely priced like it is. $21.99? I mean, they're $27.99 brand new if you have an actual Modern, but this looks like a 2015 tribute to me. So I'm not sure if somebody messed this listing up. I doubt it was a prototype of a model that didn't exist, but it doesn't have binding on the body or the neck. It's not necessarily a fancy finish. It does have one of the 2015 Gibson cases, though. But if you go to their website, so this is the one that we're talking about, and you scroll a little bit down, you see this, Future Tribute. I mean, it looks pretty similar. Oh, except for this is the one with the weird tuners. I mean, it's not the exact same model, but you get the idea of what I'm talking about. This is actually a 2013. Just as a fun fact here, if you go to Gibson's website, you can actually find these for sale now, but before they actually started selling these gearless Steinberger tuners separately, on eBay they would sell for like $400 to $500 a set. So things like these became valuable simply because the tuners were worth more than the husk of the guitar. Nowadays that's not so much the case. Oh, and in case you didn't notice, maybe I'm just part of a test group, but Reverb has been doing some changes. Like sometimes these go away after a couple of hours, but this particular iteration, I really don't like it. Too much dead space on the side right here. Because you used to have that sidebar right here, which was very useful, but now you have to hit that to get it back. I'm sure they're doing that to make it more mobile friendly, but I'm on desktop. I want my desktop features. So at the end of the day, I'm really not sure on this one. I mean, it just says they changed out the tuners and they stamped the back of the headstock. I think something got lost in translation here, because that's just a regular tribute / studio from 2015. So it should be priced well under half. Like, was this supposed to be a Les Paul Modern? And that's why they priced it like that? But then whoever's making the listings saw the color and they changed it. I don't know. I really can't explain this one. But the last one from Thursday's offerings was a studio faded tee in a cool color called Phantom Blue. Okay, the Gibson demo shop guy that did this, nice job. I like this color. Now, it looks like it's another one of those flip-flop changing ones. Maybe, maybe not. I guess it's possible it's just kind of a dark purple into a blue. I think this should come out as a production color. Like, it's not so out there that people are going to be offended by it, but it's unique enough that it's going to sell. Maybe not as cool as Blueberry Burst, but it's kind of like a baby Blueberry Burst finish. just blueberry, I guess you could call it, but Phantom Blue's a nice choice as well. But it looks like they just refinished the top on this one, and then it ended up selling for $15.99. And then, I'm sorry, I missed one from Tuesday. This thing's not that memorable. It's a chocolate sparkle finish on a 60s tribute this time. Now, those are great guitars. I don't know if I'd pay $1,600 for one, but you're paying about a $400 premium for the new finish. So if you like the brown colors, maybe it'll work. I don't see much sparkle despite the name though. But again, studio photography is great for showing you the guitars, but doesn't always accurately represent the colors and how it'll behave in person. So overall, it was an interesting week at the demo shop. We're definitely seeing it start to lose some steam as far as things selling, instantaneously and then being flipped, which I guess I'm kind of glad about, because some of the reason why the appeal of the demo shop has kind of went down for me is the fact that if there is something cool that I do want, unless you're there the absolute second it is posted, you don't even have a chance to get it. So as more and more custom finishes come along, maybe you'll have more time to grab it. But we'll see what the future holds for the Gibson demo shop next week. Alright, troglodytes, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will catch you tomorrow on the next episode. Take care.